Greetings! Welcome to Safe Space Talks My Mastery. I'm Nigeria Anderson and I'm with you every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today we're going to talk about irrational versus rational thinking and behavior. So, we understand that irrational thinking is someone who's not thinking logically or reasonable. And rational thinkers are based on reason or logic. Irrational thoughts are patterns of thinking that are illogical, which distort reality and prevents you from thinking rationally. This leads to unhealthy emotions and self-defeating behaviors. The reason is because their thoughts are unrealistic. That affects the way they see the situation at hand. For the most part, people who think irrationally also think negatively. They have negative thoughts. They have a negative lens. I'm stupid. I'm this. I'm that. You may have heard people say that, and I say that a lot here. Like, people say I'm depressed and I'm this, and it's so negative, and it's like, no, that's not true, and you don't have enough information, and it's just their thoughts are distorted. But that's how they think. And we always say here, as a person thinks, so is he. And that you are your dominant thought. So how we can help people change those irrational thoughts. A disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. Okay? I'm just one person out here trying to help the people. Because it's just too much negativity going on out here in these streets. And I know it's not popular, but hey, I'm here to share personal testimonies with other like-minded people who come on and rock with me. And we're going to be in Philly in July. We're also going to be in New York in August, and that's going to be great. I'm enjoying traveling and meeting you guys in person, so please always respond to the flyers and know where I'm going to be at. I'm better in person than on this camera. I promise you. I promise you. This thing right here, I don't know. I don't know. But I'm going to keep doing the best that I can. I want people to get their minds right, because I got mine right, and I'm not going to leave y'all behind, okay? Our minds are great, let me tell you. Remember when you used to be able to remember everybody's number, your auntie's, your favorite cousin, and now you can't remember, the only number y'all know is 911. I'm just saying. So we got to use our minds. We have to get, you're going to have to pull yourself away from TV and that phone if you're serious about getting your mind right. This is only if you're serious. You got to make a conscious decision. You have to be willing to say to yourself, I'm more important than whatever is on this TV and whatever is on social media or whoever is trying to call me. You have to take care of you first. Okay? So, let me give you an example. I live in New York. So, we have a lot of homeless people, and we have a lot of homeless people in the street, on the train, on the bus. And you'll see them acting irrational, belligerent, talking to themselves, spitting, all kinds of carrying on, right? But for some reason, when they see the cops coming, they can leave the scene or they start acting right, and you're like, oh, so you just was going to act, real crazy, and now all of a sudden you're acting right. But what happens is, in that split second, they see the authority figure, and they understand most of them have been arrested already, and they don't want to go through that experience no more. So for a quick second, they had the ability to make a rational choice. So they were acting irrational, and then they had the ability to make a rational choice. That's important. So how do you identify irrational thoughts? When you're having odd thoughts, ask yourself whether these thoughts are helpful or unhelpful. Are these healthy thoughts or unhealthy thoughts? And are these thoughts going to harm me or harm someone else? Once you start asking yourself these questions, right, and you know, I'd say it all the time, you better talk this thing out, right? You can say you talking to Jesus, you can say you talking to, I don't know, but you need to really get it out. Some people like to journal. What helped me was just talking out loud. But some people like to journal. I understand. I did both. I journaled and I would talk out loud. Okay? So we have a saying, think about what you're thinking about. Right? And so that's a real statement. That's not, people say it cliche-ish, but it's a real, you have to take these thoughts captive. You can't play around with this if you want to be free. If you want to be better. Okay? This is not a game. Like I said in the last week, it's not 1, 2, 3, I'm free. A mental instability is a crisis situation, and you know, people take it lightly. My rant is we can no longer dismiss people, because when you dismiss people, ignore people, and you're not trying to help people, you get the situation we just had where the young man was talking to the young lady. She didn't want to give him her number. He stabs her and kills her. Irrational. What is wrong? Who's his parents? Why he's been so neglected to the point where he feels he needs to kill somebody? Who didn't see the signs? So Safe Space Talks Mind Mastery, we want to give you what to look out for, maybe how to speak to somebody, and we're promoting get some help. That's all I'm trying to do here. So like I said, it may not be popular, I may not get 1 million views, but I bet you if you sat down and listen, even though I be on here nervous and I don't really like this, I'm better live, I promise you I'm going to give you something that's going to help you out, okay? So for those who have irrational thoughts, note to yourself, and let me tell you, you have said to yourself, you have had a thought and said to yourself, where that thought come from? And why am I even thinking that? If you haven't, okay, but for those of us who can admit, I don't even know why that thought came up. Journaling may be good for you. So when you're having irrational thoughts and you write it down, then you'll start seeing a pattern, right? Because we have fog and, you know, we're irritable and, you know, we're not thinking correctly, we're not thinking clearly. But when you write it down and then you have your clear moment and you go back and you read it and you're like, you know, something I like to say, examine yourself, right? Now, again, like I said last week, I don't know who may have been able to, you know, get through a mental trauma by themselves. Again, please email me at safespacetalks@gmail.com. I want to know how you did it. But for the most part, you need support or a support system, because trauma is very traumatic. So negative thoughts, you want to get them out. You got to get it out of you. So you want to write. You want to identify those thought patterns, right? And then once you do that, you gotta get some help. You have to get help, because negative thoughts come because you are pushing out the bad. You're not even, when you're so negative, like you can't even think of something good. I know someone like that. And if they watching, I said, I know someone like that. So negative. You can't squeeze nothing positive. You just can't even get it out. And the reason is because they're mentally blocked it. They have consciously decided that this is it, right? This is it. And it falls under the catastrophe thinking. And part of ruminating is in that. And I like to share that because in mental instability, trauma, associated with trauma, everything's connected. Everything's connected. And so they're pushing out what is good. And they won't allow it in. And so they're constantly seeing things through a negative lens. People who are irrational say things like, I'm going to hurt your feelings too. They say things like this. All black people are late. All Christians are hypocrites. They say they constantly overgeneralize. Most people who have irrational thinking also tend to have false predictions like, oh, my stomach hurt, I must have IBS, or, they base things on unspecified information. People ask me things, if I don't know, I'll simply just say, I don't have enough information. Why? Because I'm rational. I can process. People who are irrational cannot process. Okay, so but people who are irrational, they excessively say, what if? Did you hear what I said? They excessively, because we can say that's logical. Well, what if this happens? But they excessively say, what if? Okay, my stomach hurt. What if I got cancer? And it's like, what? What are you talking about? So how do we stop irrational thinking? To stop irrational thinking, listen to me. You have to make a conscious decision because you have to practice. You have to be serious about this. I don't play with this here. You have to make that conscious decision to say, I want to be better. Be willing to go through the process to get better. And then pay it forward. Okay, so you can get healing by getting counseling, therapy, prayer. And my favorite, I always say, when I was in crisis, speaking to myself loudly. Like when negative thoughts would come, I'd be like, stop! Don't think that. Literally, like just stop. I'm not going to think that. And you know what I found out? That's called giving yourself a conscious command. Let me tell you something. When I first started this and I was telling everybody how, I would just be loud, like just, saying, stop, don't think that, and people would be like, you can't talk to yourself. If you talk to yourself, I don't know the myth, talk to yourself, but don't answer yourself. Listen, the professional term is give yourself a conscious command. Stop thinking that. Okay, I love it. And as Christians, we know that is taking every thought captive, that is exalting itself over what the Lord has spoken over you. See what I'm saying? I was right all this long time. That's why I'm better. That's why I'm healed. That's how it happened for me. Again, with therapy and help and having a support group. So, replacing negative catastrophe thoughts by thinking of something nice, something that brings you pleasure, godly pleasure. Because don't go out there saying, Nigeria said, to get rid of negative thoughts, I need to go out and do something pleasure on you out there acting a fool. That's said godly, righteous pleasures. Okay? Just want to be clear. For me, it was my niece and nephew they bring me so much joy. So just being in their company and having auntie nephew time. If my nephew's watching, I mean, literally, he'll tell you, my phone would ring. I'd be like, nope, it is me. Unless it was real important, I'd be like, excuse me, sir. But other than that, we watch movies, have popcorn. That brought me joy. It brought me pleasure. I enjoy being with them. I enjoy playing puzzles with my niece. I mean, it was just like, that gave me joy. Reading a book. Doing light stretches, honey. No major exercise. I have a treadmill. I get on there for 5 minutes. Watch a comedy. So to really combat those negative thoughts, then you have to put in an action to make sure that you're defeating that negative thought. Okay? So, I think that should do it. So, rational thoughts. Okay? It's the ability to think and reason. I love the passage where God says, let us reason together. Even God says, let's reason together. Can we just reason together? Can we just talk about it? Right? So, a rational person is able to draw sensible conclusions from facts and, as believers, truth. In simple words, if your thoughts are based on facts and truth and not emotions, you can most likely become a juror for jury duty. Anyway, rational thinking focuses on resolving problems and achieving goals. They're purpose-driven, they're scholars, they're faithful, and able to complete the task. Irrational people cannot do these things in a timely fashion. They're not purpose-driven because they're too busy being self-defeating. They're not scholars because they don't believe in themselves to be that smart. Yeah, it's serious. They can't complete the task because they just don't have the energy to do it, and they find all these excuses. So, but a professor at Hopkins University said learning is an instinct, thinking is a skill. Learning is an instinct, thinking is a skill. So, just FYI that, put that in your notes. And as I mentioned in discussing irrational thoughts, that in some functions you can have these irrational thoughts, and then there's a break where you can have a moment to have a rational thought, right? Like I used the homeless person, and when the police come, now all of a sudden he's rational. Doesn't work all the time. That was just an example. But likewise, rational people, we think outside the box. We're very creative. We're willing. We're open-minded people. We will give you the benefit of the doubt, so to speak. And sometimes rational people can be spacey sometimes, okay? Because they're constantly thinking or thinkers or imagining. They're very creative. But what I love is that even with all of that, they can push the boundaries of being irrational. The great thing about rational people is they have the ability to turn that around and get back to an area of being rational in their thoughts. So they don't get too far gone that, they can't get back. So to be rational requires a different skill set to address different situations based on one's perspective, making the connection, and being able to communicate ideas. Rational people, we're going to ask second and third level questions. We're not surface. So those who think rationally predominantly have good character, good at problem solving. They have a higher analytical way of processing information and situation. They're able to expand their capacity. They're able to grow and mature, which increases their brain power, which means they have the ability to think intelligently and able to make better decisions. Rational thinkers are able to think on their feet. Yeah. Ask yourself, are you irrational or are you rational in your thinking? So how can you become a rational thinker? Easy. This comes by way of brainstorming and using your imagination. I'm very good at both of those. So it takes you away from the normal way of thoughts, these repetitive. It gets you out of that cycle because you're able to accept new information. Ooh, that's so good. You're able to accept new information so you're not in a fixed thought pattern. That just came to me. I love that. And it opens up doors for new thoughts, creativity, leads you to be the CEO, the entrepreneur, birthing the next tech invention, or increasing in your educational goals, having 2 masters or a doctorate, or whatever it is educationally that you want to achieve. Scientists, doctors, lawyers, they have the ability to have rational thoughts. But like I said, they can bend and have irrational thoughts, but the situation is such that they're able to spin it back. So in conclusion, life is complex and so many forces play a role invading on how we should think and what we should buy, and you have to be in control of you and your thoughts. If we can become more rational in our thoughts, hopefully we won't make irrational choices. I love me some y'all. See you next week. Remember to share, subscribe, and like. Tell a friend about Safe Space Talks. I'm growing. I'm going to get better with this. Sitting in front of this computer. But I hope I shared some tips and information that'll help you out. And see you next week. Same bat channel, same bat time. Have a good one.